The elevator doors on the 35th floor of Harrison and Cole Enterprises slid open with their usual quiet efficiency. But what stepped out that morning was far from ordinary. Emma Carter clutched her 2-year-old daughter, Lila, against her chest. Lila's tiny hands waved in the air, and her soft whines echoed faintly in the sleek marble corridor. Emma's heart pounded against her ribs, every step heavier than the last. Her babysitter had cancelled early that morning. Her mother was out of town. And the big Meridian merger meeting was scheduled for 9 o'clock sharp. Missing it wasn't an option, not after months of late nights preparing every detail. Emma adjusted Lila in the carrier strapped snugly to her chest, hoping the toddler would stay calm. Somehow, Lila had finally stopped fussing, resting her head against Emma's shoulder, her bright hazel eyes scanning the unfamiliar office. As Emma hurried past rows of sleek desks, whispers rippled like wine through tall grass. People stared. This wasn't a usual sight at Harrison and Cole Enterprises. Toddlers were decidedly not part of the corporate landscape. Emma, is that a voice interrupted her thoughts. Kevin Marshall, a colleague from the finance department, had appeared at her elbow, his eyebrows shooting up. It's an emergency, Emma said quickly, forcing a calm she didn't feel. I just need to get through today. She didn't wait for a response, moving briskly toward her office. Her office was modest, a small space with glass walls overlooking the city. Not a corner office, but hers. She laid Lila on the small couch, letting the toddler grab the soft blanket Emma always carried. Please just behave for a few hours, Emma whispered, brushing a strand of hair from Lila's forehead. Lila's little hands clutched the blanket, then Emma's fingers, giving her a tiny, reassuring smile. The phone buzzed. Emma's stomach dropped when she saw the caller ID, CEO's office. Miss Carter, Mr. Harrison would like to see you immediately, said the crisp voice of Vanessa, the CEO's assistant. Emma's mouth went dry. She had been summoned to the CEO's office only twice in her 3 years at the company, both times for major presentations. And now here she was, with a toddler in tow, summoned for a mysterious meeting. Ethan Harrison, the CEO, was a legend in the industry. Brilliant, commanding, and notoriously private, he had built Harrison and Cole from a small accounting firm into a multinational powerhouse. Behind the scenes, employees called him the Ice King. Emma hesitated, looking down at Lila. She couldn't bring her toddler into the CEO's office, but leaving her alone wasn't an option either. Then, a text buzzed on her phone from Sophie Lane, a junior analyst on a nearby floor. Heard you need help. I can watch Lila if you want. Emma's relief was immediate. A few taps later, Sophie appeared, scooping Lila up with practiced ease. Don't worry, Sophie said with a smile. I've got this. Go crush your meeting. Emma practically ran to the elevator, heart hammering. Was she in trouble? Had someone already complained about bringing a child to the office? She had spent 3 years building a reputation as dedicated, reliable, and professional, never once letting personal life interfere with work. Until today. The executive floor was quiet, carpet muffling her hurried footsteps as she approached the massive doors of Ethan Harrison's office. Vanessa gave a quick nod. Go right in, she said without looking up. Ethan's office was everything she'd imagined, floor-to-ceiling windows, a panoramic view of the city, sleek furniture, and an air of controlled power. He stood with his back to her, gazing out the window. When he turned, Emma felt her breath catch. Up close, he was even more imposing, tall, with dark hair streaked with gray at the temples, sharp features. And eyes that seemed to pierce right through her. Miss Carter, he said, his voice deep and steady. I understand you brought a child to the office today. Emma swallowed hard. It was an emergency, she replied. My babysitter cancelled last minute, and the meeting was scheduled for 9 o'clock. He studied her for a long moment, then his expression softened slightly. How old is she? 2 years, Emma said, unsure why he needed to know. Ethan's gaze darkened, thoughtful. And the father, is he involved? Emma's chest tightened. No, she said quietly. He's not in the picture. The office was silent for a few tense moments. Then Ethan walked toward his desk, picking up a folder. Emma recognized her personnel file. You've been with the company for 3 years, he said, flipping through pages. Your performance reviews, exceptional. You started this position in January 3 years ago. Impressive. Emma felt a flicker of fear. She knew the next words could change everything. "I need to see the child," Ethan said quietly. Emma's heart skipped. She tried to speak, but no words came. The resemblance between Ethan and Lila was unmistakable, bright green eyes, the tiniest curve of her smile. Memories she'd buried for years flooded back, a business retreat in Denver 3 years ago, a hotel bar, a conversation that lasted all night, a stranger who had felt like home. The thought that Ethan Harrison might be that man, and Lila might be his daughter, hit her like a thunderbolt. "This is inappropriate," she stammered. "Is it?" His tone was firm, yet not unkind. "I think I might have a daughter I've never known." Emma froze. He stepped closer, his green eyes locking with hers. 3 years ago, I met someone. We connected. Then she was gone. I've searched for months. And now I see Lila." Emma's mind raced. You're saying?" "Yes," he said softly. "She has my eyes. My smile. I need to know if she's mine." The walk back to Emma's office felt surreal. Employees fell silent, sensing something extraordinary in the air. Sophie handed Lila back to Emma and left quietly. Emma held her daughter close. Ethan stood beside her, carefully observing, unsure how to approach a 2-year-old who didn't yet understand the tension surrounding her. "Her name?" Ethan asked gently. "Lila Grace Carter." He knelt slowly, extending a hand toward her. Lila, curious, reached for his tie, giggling. A sound escaped Ethan, a laugh, a sob, a mixture of disbelief and awe. The resemblance was undeniable. Emma watched as his emotions softened, as he cradled Lila with tender care. This man, the CEO, was already showing the patience and love of a father who had missed too much time. I can't believe it," he whispered. Emma explained briefly how she hadn't known who he was, how she had started working at Harrison and Cole without knowing, how she'd raised Lila alone. "I looked for you," Ethan said quietly. "Months. Nothing. And now, this." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. Lila yawned and nestled into her arms, unaware of the life-changing revelation unfolding around her. They spoke for hours that day, discussing logistics, schedules, and boundaries. Ethan wanted to be part of Lila's life. Fully. Not as a visitor, not as a shadow, but as her father. Emma realized this man was different from the distant figure she'd seen at board meetings. Here, with Lila in his arms, he was human, warm, and entirely present. The day after the revelation, Emma woke to Lila's cheerful giggles. Her 2-year-old was already climbing out of bed, tugging at her blanket and babbling about breakfast. Emma rubbed her eyes, trying to shake off the exhaustion from the previous day. Ethan had insisted she take a few days off work to process everything. Emma wasn't used to anyone making decisions for her, but after yesterday, she understood why. The news that Ethan was Lila's father had rocked her world, and now she needed space to figure out how to make it work. When Ethan arrived that morning, he carried a bag of toys and a stack of picture books. Lila squealed in delight, throwing herself into his arms. Emma watched quietly, smiling, as he knelt on the floor and read aloud, using silly voices for every animal in the book. "You're really good at this," Emma said softly, sipping her coffee from the kitchen counter. Ethan grinned. "I've been practicing for 2 years, just didn't know it." Emma laughed, shaking her head. The tension from the previous day had eased a little. Watching Ethan with Lila made her feel something she hadn't expected, relief. Maybe this wouldn't be so complicated after all. Returning to the office was a different story. Gossip traveled fast at Harrison and Cole Enterprises, and everyone knew by now that Emma had brought her child to work, and that the CEO had some connection to her daughter. Emma tried to ignore the whispers as she walked past the cubicles. Some colleagues stared, others smiled, and a few simply looked annoyed. But it wasn't as bad as she feared. Ethan had kept his promise. He treated Emma professionally, no special favors, no shortcuts. If anything, he was stricter with her at meetings, questioning assumptions and pushing her to be the best she could be. During one team meeting, he interrupted gently. "Emma, I appreciate your work, but I want you to explain your reasoning more clearly," he said. Emma's heart pounded. This was harder than any presentation she'd ever given, because she knew everyone was watching, waiting to see if she was only succeeding because of her connection with Ethan. But as she explained her analysis, her confidence grew. She realized that she had earned everything she had through her own skill and dedication. By the end of the meeting, even the skeptics were nodding in agreement. At home, things slowly fell into a rhythm. Ethan came over after work each day, helping with bedtime routines, meals, and playtime. He learned the small details of Lila's world, the exact way she liked her sandwiches cut. The books she loved most, the bedtime songs that soothed her. Emma began to relax. She could see that Ethan wasn't just a visitor in their lives, he was fully invested in being a father. And while the initial shock of discovering Lila's parentage had been overwhelming, she felt a growing sense of security. One evening, as they watched Lila chase Bubbles across the living room, Ethan turned to Emma. "I want to do this right," he said. "Not just for me, not just for you, but for her." Emma nodded. "Me too." A few months later, Ethan was asked to do a feature for a major business magazine. The interview could not avoid mentioning Lila, and he wanted to be honest about his role as a father. Emma had reservations. She worried about privacy, about gossip, about the way people would perceive them. But when she saw Ethan talking to Lila during a casual playtime before the interview, she realized something. This was their reality. They couldn't hide it. And they shouldn't. "Let's do it," she said finally. "People will see what they need to see, but at least we'll be truthful." The article went viral. The story of a billionaire CEO embracing fatherhood while supporting a single mother at his company captured hearts across the country. Emma's career continued to thrive, her promotion to Vice President of Strategic Development coming months later. Everyone knew she earned it, no special treatment, just skill, talent, and dedication. Outside of work, Emma and Ethan took things slowly. Their relationship wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic declarations, it was about quiet moments, shared routines, and learning each other's quirks. They had dinner together, went on walks in the park pushing Lila in her stroller, and spent evenings reading and laughing. They discovered the joy of ordinary life, doing laundry together, building puzzles on the living room floor, and celebrating small milestones. One evening, after Lila had fallen asleep, Ethan turned to Emma. "I know we started all this backwards," he said. "Baby first, relationship second. But I don't care about the order. I care about us." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. She had been so careful to protect her independence, her career, and her daughter. But now she realized something: love didn't follow rules. "I want us, too," she whispered. A year later, Ethan proposed, not with a grand, orchestrated event, but on a simple Tuesday evening while giving Lila her bath. Lila splashed happily in the tub as Ethan presented a small velvet box. "I've been waiting for the right moment," he said. "But now I realize, the right moment is right now. For us, for her, for all of us." Emma laughed and cried at the same time. "Yes," she said. "Yes, yes, yes." They married 6 months later. Lila was the flower girl, toddling down the aisle with her tiny white dress, clapping and laughing. Their wedding wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real, warm, and full of love. Emma remembered the morning she had walked into the office with her toddler, terrified and overwhelmed. She had apologized for bringing Lila into her professional world. Now, she would never apologize for her daughter again. Lila had brought them together, had created a family from chaos, and had shown them that love often arrives in the most unexpected ways. The summer after their wedding, Emma, Ethan, and Lila decided to take their first real family vacation. They rented a small cabin by Lake Willow, a quiet retreat far from the skyscrapers, deadlines, and office gossip that had once dominated their lives. Lila was ecstatic. The moment they arrived, she raced toward the lake, her little legs pumping, curls bouncing in the sunlight. Emma laughed, chasing after her, while Ethan carried their luggage and a picnic basket. "Slow down, Speedy," Emma called, scooping Lila into her arms. "I think she's going to outrun us both," Ethan said, grinning as he watched them. Inside the cabin, evenings were simple and peaceful. They cooked together, tried new recipes, and shared stories about their childhoods. Ethan loved to tease Emma about her strict organization rules at work, while Emma playfully criticized his over-the-top spreadsheets for meal planning. Lila, meanwhile, explored every nook and cranny, squealing with delight at every discovery. One afternoon, she even managed to pour a small cup of water onto Ethan's foot while trying to help with the dishes. The resulting laughter filled the cabin, a reminder of how unpredictable and beautiful family life could be. Back in Chicago, life returned to its normal rhythm, but now with Lila firmly in their daily plans. Emma worked from home on certain days, while Ethan adjusted his schedule to be present for morning routines and bedtime stories. There were challenges, of course. Lila refused to eat vegetables one day, spilled juice on an important report the next, and had a meltdown during a corporate event once, but Emma and Ethan learned to navigate each obstacle together. They laughed more, stressed less, and supported each other through both triumphs and messes. One morning, while Emma was preparing for an important presentation, Lila clung to her leg, begging her not to leave. "I know, sweetheart," Emma said softly, kneeling to hug her. "Mommy has to work, but I'll be home soon. And Ethan will take care of you until I'm back." Ethan stepped in, crouching to Lila's height. "Don't worry, champ. We've got this. Mommy will come home and we'll have story time, just like always." Watching Ethan handle their daughter with such patience and warmth, Emma felt a deep sense of gratitude. She realized that co-parenting, and loving each other, didn't have to be complicated if they were honest, committed, and flexible. Lila's third birthday arrived quietly, with balloons, cake, and her favorite stuffed bunny. They celebrated at home, with just a few close friends and family. Emma and Ethan watched in awe as Lila blew out her candles, clapping her hands and giggling uncontrollably. "You're growing up so fast," Emma whispered to Ethan as they watched their daughter. "I know," he replied, eyes glistening. "And I don't want to miss a single thing." From her first steps to her first words, Lila's milestones became a shared joy. Every scraped knee, every bedtime story, and every giggle reminded them that love wasn't just about grand gestures, it was in the small, everyday moments. A year after the chaos of the office revelation, life had settled into a rhythm that worked for them. Emma was thriving as vice president, respected for her talent, drive, and integrity. Ethan continued to lead the company, but he had grown to value family time just as much as the next board meeting. They had built a strong foundation for Lila, one filled with love, consistency, and laughter. The media buzz had faded, replaced by the quiet satisfaction of a life lived fully. One evening, as they watched Lila toddle across the living room, chasing a toy duck, Ethan took Emma's hand. "Look at her," he said softly. "Everything we've done, every challenge, every late night, every worry, it was all worth it." Emma smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "Yes. And we're doing it together. All of us. Life doesn't always follow the plans we make. Sometimes, it surprises us. Sometimes, it throws us into situations we never expected, and sometimes, it brings us the greatest joys when we least expect them." Emma and Ethan discovered that family isn't built by perfect timing or following rules. It's built by love, trust, patience, and the willingness to embrace the unexpected. Lila didn't just bring them together, she created a home filled with laughter, learning, and a love that would last a lifetime. And in the end, that's what matters most, finding connection, building trust, and embracing the messy, wonderful, unpredictable journey of family life.